Hello folks, welcome to Ontario on a beautiful, I guess, late March morning. Well, I've got about an hour today outside here right now, folks, and we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna run our chainsaw. You'll notice I've cut down some dead elm and we got some dead ash to deal with. Unfortunately, in this part of the world, elm doesn't get very big anymore, and with the emerald ash borer, we've seen pretty well the end of our ash species as well. So I'm going to finish cutting this one up, and then I'm going to lay down that ash and that little elm in between there, and we'll cut them up as well. Before I lay this old Betsy down, I want to tell you a little bit about my saw. Normally I work with an 036 still that I bought in 1992. This past year, a friend of ours from near our camp has reached that season in life where unfortunately he's not able to do what he used to do. I love this guy and my heart sure breaks for him. So this past winter he offered me a couple saws, this 051 Husqvarna and an 028 AV Super Still. And he offered them to me for next to nothing. So of course I bought them from him. And if you watch this, buddy, thank you so much. I so appreciate both these saws. That's why I'm using them. And I actually really like this. Now I sharpened it, and I might have taken down the rakers a bit much. As you can see there, it's pretty aggressive, trying to pull itself in a bit more than the engine can provide power for. So I'm cutting down these two ash that you'll see right here. Ash and elm have a lot in common, unfortunately, their demise in Ontario and across Canada. Both have been taken out by an invasive species. The ash by the emerald ash borer, which literally they'll have hundreds of larvae underneath the bark, which clog the, literally what we'd say in a human, the arteries of the tree. And Dutch elm disease is the same thing. It clogs the pathways within the tree, and in both the ash and the elm, they literally strangle to death. It's really sad. When I was a boy, ash lumber was prized for hammer handles, axe handles, anything structural. And elm, oh my goodness, that's what you sheeted your barn with, or your house with. Because once you got a nail in elm, it never came out. Here's a little story for you. When I was a young man, a teenager, we used to get lumber sawn at a local sawmill. And one time I was in there, and I don't know how we got on the discussion, but the gentleman told me a story. He said one time this was just after the war, this Englishman came to Canada and he wanted some sheeting for his barn roof. So he took down some massive elm, took them back to the sawmill. Our friends sawed them up for him into 2-inch lumber. That's what he asked for. Well, when the English farmer came to pick them up, he said to the sawyer, "What am I going to do with them? They're so heavy I can hardly move them. How am I going to get them up on the roof?" And the sawyer said, "Just a moment. I'll go get my wife. She's the ones that carried them from the mill and load them on your wagon." And that story went on, and I've heard variations of it for most of my life. Okay, let's lay these trees down. You notice when I fell these trees here, I was very cautious about my wife's flower beds. We've got crocuses coming up and a few daffodils I saw somewhere. And my wife warned me within an inch of my life to protect her flowers. And I want to point out one other thing. My wife's quilt that she painted on our barn, or on our old drive shed here. I love it. I'm so proud of my wife, and I think it looks beautiful. And with these old trees gone, we'll be able to see it all the more. Well folks, I'm gonna dust up that one there. Well, that's 6 ash, 2 elm, and a nice little bit of dry firewood. I'm going to cut these up, I'll limb them, block them up, and then I'm going to throw them in the bucket of the tractor and add them to the wood pile. Well, it's all blocked up. All that's left now is to bring the tractor around and throw the blocks in the bucket and put them on the wood pile. And then I'll pick up the brush, and then after that rake up the sticks and clean up the mess I've made. Well folks, it's almost time to call it a day. In our kitchen, on top of our wood stove, is bubbling away a pot of split pea and ham soup, and oh my goodness, it's going to be wonderful. And of course, to go along with it is a freshly baked loaf of sourdough bread. I am spoiled, folks, to say the least. I'm married up. Listen to that raven. Folks, I've had a lot of fun. Thanks so much for journeying along with me today. We look forward to seeing you again on Out of the House with Paul.